Are you in your 20s, you're a teenager, you're losing your hair young and you're starting to freak out? Well, I'm going to explain to you why it's happening, causes of hair loss, what it actually is, some haircuts that I could suggest to you, even some products. And this is something that, I know it's a hit to an ego. Whether you're male or female, any human being can experience hair loss. And sometimes it's out of your control. I think, in my honesty, the number one reason is probably hereditary, but there are a lot of other things that I'm going to be going over to explain, what's going on, maybe some options that you have. So and I'm going to read a lot of this verbatim because I'm getting very technical on this. And even though I know this off the top of my head, I want to get very scientific and technical with the information about hair loss. Like I mentioned, it's genetics. And you may have heard the term male pattern baldness. And there's all different patterns of baldness. They even have, certain names like certain types of them, alopecia, it's basically when your hair falls out in certain patterns on the head, okay? And there's different patterns. Like you can have a bald spot just in the back of the head. You can have a lot of hair here and the hair is gone in the front. You can have the full kind of crown U-shaped type of male pattern baldness. But there's all different types. But usually it's also caused by something you may have heard of, which is DHT. And that stands for dihydrotestosterone. And what that does is actually it shrinks the hair follicle over time. And also keep in mind that hair is dead. It's not like your hair is alive. You are, but the hair itself, the hair follicle on the ends and all that, it's dead, okay? But obviously it comes from and grows from the scalp. So the DHT, it's shrinking it, and over time, just the hair follicle falls out. It's like the hair itself, the follicle dies. And bye-bye hair, okay? So typically, a lot of times, and this is probably one of the biggest questions I get is, salon guy, my hair is going back in the corners more. Am I losing my hair? And I always say, look at photos of your hair from maybe 3 years ago or 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Just go back in the past and look and see. And if your hairline was like a lot thicker and there was no recession in the corners, then maybe you might be experiencing some slight hair loss. Doesn't mean you're going to lose all your hair. The corners going back a little bit, that could be nothing. That could be the extent of your hair loss. But, if you start to see over time, it's getting thinner. Typically, hair loss is like it's getting thinner and thinner. You're seeing more of your scalp. That is usually what hair loss is going to start to look like. Hormonal imbalance. So high levels of DHT accelerates the hair follicle, meaning it shrinks it down. Like I mentioned, the DHT over time, it's just shrinking down the hair follicle and bye-bye. Imbalances in testosterone, thyroid hormones, or other hormones can contribute to hair loss. So if and I've seen this, especially in women, where if their thyroid is off, I've seen their eyebrows start to fall out, right? All sorts of hormonal issues can really play a big part. So you may be experiencing this, and it's a medical thing where you actually have to go to your doctor and talk to the doctor, a thyroid doctor, right? Like an endo, right? And see what's going on with your thyroid and your blood levels and all that. That could be it, right? Believe it or not. Stress and lifestyle factors. Stress is probably one of the number one reasons that you may be losing your hair. Yes, stress can actually cause it. And I've known people who had full heads of hair going through major traumatic situations in their life, and their hair just falls out like this. And they're like, what's going on? Or falls out in big patches, big patches of bald spots. Even pregnancies. Women, all of a sudden, if you're watching this and you just gave birth and you're like, oh my gosh, half my hair just fell out. There's changes going on in your body. And then usually, typically, it starts to come back. So, poor diet, lack of sleep, alcohol, all those things that if you're not treating, remember, your scalp, it's part of your body. It's on your head. So if you're treating your body wrong, it's not just like, oh, your stomach, you're going to gain weight in your stomach or your face or your arm, wherever. It can actually affect blood flow to your scalp, right? And Your head, because it's part of your body. So if you're not taking care of your body overall, that does contribute to possible hair loss, right? And issues with your body. Vitamins, lack of nutritional deficiencies like biotin, iron, zinc, vitamin D, protein, that can weaken the hair and cause shedding. So obviously, now this is why biotin, if people ask me, what do you take? What do you take? In my opinion, the only over-the-counter thing that I have experienced and seen help is biotin. All right, I'm not even talking about like Rogaine, minoxidil, all that. Those are pharmaceutical drugs that come with some sort of side effects. And sometimes it ends up just growing in light peach fuzz, or it doesn't even do much of anything. In my opinion, if you have hair or the hair is a little bit thin, I've seen biotin work wonders. And there are different dosages of biotin. You can actually take too much of it. But if you're not taking any multivitamin or you're not even taking any biotin, I would suggest looking into that, right? And talk to your doctor about it, but it's all natural. So that's one thing that I've seen can really, really help, and vitamins as well. Alopecia areata, which is an autoimmune disorder caused by patchy hair loss. So once again, the patchiness, thyroid disorders, scalp infections, dermatitis, psoriasis. If you've got some sort of hardcore, like really hardcore scalp issues, you have to go to a doctor. I mean, that needs to be treated with some sort of ointments and medications and stuff, but that could cause hair loss too, right? Just not taking care of your scalp properly. Let's see. Certain drugs for blood pressure. Now here's another one. Depression, chemo, steroids, and especially blood pressure. My mother, rest her soul, if you probably won't even know this, but I was adopted at a very young age. My mother, who passed 15 years ago, rest her soul, she actually was on blood pressure medication, and that caused a lot of her hair to fall out, believe it or not. And the doctor said, you either have the heart issues, you could die from a heart attack, or you deal with some hair falling out. So blood pressure medication is one that's notorious, from what I've seen, to cause hair loss. So definitely certain medications. Now, let's talk a little more technical now, okay? And I'm gonna transition. I know you're tired of seeing this bald mannequin right here. So let's talk about certain types of hairstyles. Now, let's just say that your hair is thinning and you're like, oh man, I want to like rock a hairstyle like this. But the longer your hair and the heavier your hair, if your hair's thinning on top, what's going to happen is you are going to start to see more of the scalp because the hair just weighs itself down. So if the hair is heavy, guess what? It's pulling down and you're going to see all the scalp up here. However, if you have a situation where it's mostly just the corners that are receding, then a hairstyle like this that actually covers the corners can be very, very beneficial because you're covering the corners. And if you don't want it to be so heavy, then get some layers, just like I did on this mannequin. And I just did this haircut on my YouTube channel. You can just go back and watch this like a video ago, from a day or two ago. And then you can have, layers right in through here that actually allow the hair to sweep and fall over and cover the corners. So anytime you're trying to, cover those bald spots or thinning areas, this type of haircut would work well. It doesn't have to be even this long as you have some length in the front here that covers all of this, right? That's one hairstyle. The next hairstyle is something like this, to where now we're talking a little more texture in the hair. So this helps if you do have thicker hair, but if you have a lot of hair or it's fine and maybe their hair is thinner in front, this is a textured haircut. This is like that trending kind of mullet you see all over the place. But I want you to pay close attention to this, because this right here, the hair is layered on top. So if your hair maybe is long like the other mannequin I just showed you, and you get a cut to this to where you're leaving a little bit of thickness in the front here, that's another thing, is making sure that the person cutting your hair, it knows how to cut thinning hair. And I'll talk about that in a second. But my claim to fame with certain clients was I was able to cover a bald spot easily because of the techniques I was using and understanding hair. The problem is if you get somebody who cuts your hair and they don't understand that cutting certain areas or doing certain things to the hair could make it look thinner, then you're going to be in rough shape because it actually can be salvaged, and I've done it dozens and dozens of times over the years. So this is a texture type of haircut where you're seeing more texture up here, and you're covering the corners and you're covering the forehead, but you're getting a bit more volume and you're building the weight and strength right in through here. I've done it a million times. Literally, it's almost like a Caesar haircut where it's all combed forward, the corners are covered, and then you're adding just the right amount of layers to blend into this to make it look so much thicker. That's another one. This is a hairstyle that is a shorter version of that, what I just explained, right? Without the mullet. Once again, you can see maybe a bit longer, but the length comes down to about right here, and then the hairstyle is blended in to where it goes into the front. Now, I mentioned to you that there's a technique that I use, and this is very, very important. What happens with haircuts and layering is actually a technique that's designed to remove weight from the hair. If your hair is really heavy, you want to make sure you're adding layers so the hair has more movement, more texture, more volume. But what you want to do is you want to actually build weight towards the front if the hairline is thinning, if the corners are receding. And the way that happens, and the way I used to do that, is I'd create my layers and then I would over-direct the hair in those areas back to leave it heavy. So when you take the hair and you pull this back, which is called over-directing technically, and you cut it, this stays short, and then this hair travels forward and it's maintaining some weight. So you're actually building in some sort of graduation so that when you comb this down, it actually all looks thicker. So I would work as much as I can into leaving the weight, AKA even sometimes length, because once you cut that length too short, it's going to expose what you're trying to cover up. So you have to make sure that when you're getting your hair cut, the person really, really knows how to cut hair on finer hair or thinning hair. I used to be able to cover full-on bald spots in the back because what I would do is I would leave the hair longer in a certain area and blend it in with the rest, aka leaving length and covering it over. Now, people say, oh, it's a comb over. Well, what other options you have? I'm literally making your hair look like you have no bald spot. You should be happy with that. So you find the right person who understands hair cutting, then that could really, really help you. And now let's take this mannequin. Let's just say that you have like really, really fine hair. And I've seen that where a lot of times people are like, oh yeah, man, I'm just gonna grow my hair long. And I'm just gonna, and this is male, this could be for a male or female, but you wanna grow the hair out really long. And then what's gonna happen is, once again, like I mentioned, if you don't get layers in your hair, you may expose the scalp. But if you wanna keep your hair looking healthier and maybe the recession isn't here as much, it's more in the corners, you're trying to cover up and camouflage, having longer hair is fine. Just keep in mind that the longer and heavier it is, the more it's going to expose your scalp. Another trick you can do, and I've done this before, is say you do want to have longer hair and you don't want to have a middle part and maybe the hair is thinning right here but not on the corners. What you can do is you can literally just take the hair and flip it around and create a different parting, like a side part or an off-center part just in the front. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna cover up that kind of thinning area, spray it with some hairspray, or you can use one of my products and basically work it into shape. And now you've got that fullness and the illusion that this is all much thicker and stronger in the front, and this isn't even an area. It comes down to the focal point. A lot of times, like for me, my damn head is my focal point, right? I shave my head and all you see is a bald guy. So if you look at, again, a hairstyle like this, if it's really long and it's thinning, the longer your hair is, this is the focal point. And I've seen this on so many people, especially women who have thinning hair right in through here, and they part their hair right in the middle, and I'm like, you're just exposing that. Maybe it's time to go with a different haircut, maybe a side part, just your stylist should be suggesting things to you and experimenting with you if that's a concern. If it's not a concern, then be happy. It doesn't really matter. But this is really just mainly for people who have challenges with hair loss and stuff like that. So if you are someone that is losing or your hair is thinning, or you're in that situation where you're like, I don't know what I want to do and what's going to happen to me. I mean, look, you can shave your head. You can become, like this. we're like twins, basically. You can shave your head, and you'll be fine. And you may even look better with a shaved head. You can get a shorter haircut, like I suggested. And if you're young, it's something that, look, it's not going to all of a sudden tomorrow all your hair is going to be gone. But what you do have to pay close attention to is where it's thinning, how much is it thinning, and then, and I would use it, and I'm like, the hair feels like pure straw. Like, it makes the hair so dry, which expands the hair shaft, but like it makes it feel awful. My shampoos and conditioners, all of them across the board, don't do that. But if you want to fight hair loss, you want to maintain a healthy scalp, I'm telling you, my Pure shampoo is fine, or you can get the Pure Set, which has the shampoo and conditioner. These are high-end products. They're luxury products. They're not cheap stuff that you can get at the local store. You can get them right here if you click View Products. And I would highly suggest investing in your scalp because it's going to be helpful to you. Trust me. And that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Like the video. Share it if you can. What to do, and find someone who can work with you, okay? Find a style that's going to kind of camouflage that and express that to, don't be ashamed to express it to your hair professional. They're a hair professional there for you. So say, look, my hair is thinning a little bit. Can you give me a haircut that's going to maybe camouflage the corners and I'm trying to make it look thicker? Talk to them and find someone who's good. Now, when it comes to hair products, I can honestly suggest to you, and this is, the reason I came out with this is my Pure Set, my Pure shampoo and Pure conditioner. I'm telling you right now, as a hair professional, I've never seen a shampoo do what it does to grow thicker hair, help block and fight the DHT so that the hair isn't shrinking because of an ingredient, a special ingredient in it, and in the shampoo. It makes your hair feel incredible. It's nourishing for your hair. And it's got quinoa protein. It's loaded with great ingredients. The shampoo and the conditioner. Most shampoos that I've used as a professional, even for the companies that I've worked for, oh, this is the best thickening shampoo. And if you want to use, any of my products, you can visit my website, shop.thesalonguy.com. I really appreciate all your support. I'll see you soon.